3 weeks into the Steelers season, and there's some lessons I think that Arthur Smith needs to take to heart if he wants to make this offense run more efficiently. We'll talk about that with Alan Saunders. It's the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm Chris Carter. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. More on them later. We are joined by the man himself, Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. You know him, you love him. Alan, this offense was really good in the first two drives and the last drive, and then putrid in between, bookending the game well, but filling it with a nothing sandwich. I did think that there were some things to learn here, and one of my main things that I thought that I wrote about for the Post-Gazette was, one, passing to set up the run was the main way they ran the ball in this game on first down runs where there was a pass that preceded it, whether it was a completed pass or a penalty. The Steelers averaged about 4.5 yards per carry. When there was no pass that preceded a first down run, they averaged a third of a yard on 6 such runs during the game. I saw the Patriots teeing off on the run. I saw the Steelers not being able to get out in space, but when they did, it allowed them to get running. What did you see that worked and didn't work with the Steelers rushing offense Sunday?
Well, I want to preface this entire conversation by saying the Steelers are tied for 12th in scoring in the NFL right now. And if you had told me they were going to be tied for 12th this season, I would have taken that and run away cackling like I just stole something. So, while there are certainly lots of things that can be better about the offense, and if you watch that game between the 5-minute mark of the first quarter and the 2-minute mark of the fourth quarter, you certainly watched a lot of bad offense from both sides. But I think that needs to be said first and foremost. I think it makes sense that the Steelers were always going to have to be a team that was going to have to throw to set up the run when you look at their personnel and their fondness and forget the fondness, just the obviousness that their best personnel is going to involve multiple tight ends. They don't have depth at wide receiver. And if you're going to go out there with multiple tight ends, people are going to counter that with heavier defensive packages. So, Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth are not going to go out there. If you're going to put an extra defensive lineman on the field, Pat Freiermuth ain't going to handle that guy. I think his run blocking has improved, but he's not a winner against an extra defensive lineman. Jonnu Smith certainly is not. Where those guys are winners is you make them pay in the passing game for playing heavy against the Steelers' 2 tight ends who are both tight ends but are really good receivers. And those 2 guys were almost complete afterthoughts in the offensive game plan against New England Patriots. By the way, the Patriots starting Robert Spillane. Remember that guy? Real good coming forward, not great going backwards. I felt like there was an obvious way to try to set up the run in this game that the Steelers never really even scratched the surface of.
I feel you on that because when I look at this offense, and like you mentioned there, when you bring those tight ends on the field, you force a defense into a choice. Either A, they get heavy to try to stop the run, or B, they get lighter, and then you do have a chance to run with these guys and block them in space and set things up. And to me, when I look at this Steelers offense, the best running plays were when they pitched it out to Kenneth Gainwell or Jaylen Warren, and you see Zach Frazier climbing to the second level, guys pulling and hitting in space. Even Isaac Seumalo doing a good job doing that. And you saw that really work in this game. And I think you've seen that work a few times in this game, and it puts less onus on having to win in tight spaces, which this offensive line, I think, can do in spots, but almost every time there's one guy that gets beat in a situation like a Troy Faltanu or a Broderick Jones or Zach Frazier at times, and it's that popcorn scenario that Mike Tomlin often talks about when you're saying like, hey, like you're trying to get a win across the board, but that's, I think, where the Steelers' offensive line puts it at, and that's why I think sometimes you need to get defenses on the move out in space so that their wins can kind of space things out. And then you also allow your two faster running backs, Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, to make guys miss, and Jaylen Warren made 9 guys miss in this game.
Yeah, I thought their screen game looked pretty good, but way better than it has in previous years. And I thought they did look good running on the edges, which is what they want to do. They don't want to be a lineup in 3 yards in a cloud of dust team. They want to run on the edges and get explosive plays out of their running game. That's why Arthur Smith likes the wide zone so much. They aren't pass protecting very well, and it's not like you said, like it's not like everybody's out there just getting whipped every play, but somebody's getting beat on almost every play, and that's the problem. Is that there's not consistent time for Aaron Rodgers to throw, and the receivers aren't getting open. And so there's really limited stuff in the passing game. I think they should have tried to use the tight ends more earlier. But also there was a lot of cover 2. You're not going to get DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin open if it's cover 2 and they're still stopping the run. Yeah. Like the counter to cover 2 is, well, fine, put those safeties back there. Let's go run at them. Like, you want to put your safeties 13 yards off the ball? All right, bet. Let's go run it. But the Steelers are playing heavy personnel, failing to block, and not getting open downfield because they're not making teams commit to stacking the box against the run. It's a bad combination. I don't think the offensive linemen individually played poorly, but I think it starts there. I don't feel like the offensive line has yet been a winning edge for this team.
I think they could be better. We got a chance to talk to Kenneth Gainwell Monday morning or Monday afternoon in the Steelers locker room. Here was him when I got a chance to ask him some questions about his perspective on the Steelers' early offensive performances.
I think it would be real dangerous. I think we know the matchup we're going against, and knowing the guys that we have in our room and the guys that we have on this team, it's going to be real dangerous. Mismatch against guys. It's a game plan type of thing, and I think we can be real dangerous with that.
Seems like when you get guys like Zach Frazier and everyone else, they get out fast. Like on your screen, Zach's upfield blocking a dude like 5-10 yards downfield, and that gives you space to work.
Yeah, most definitely. The guys work hard doing their job throughout the week, and I trust them to get their block, and they trust me to make the right cut and make the right reads to get us yards. Because on that play we lost yards. We had a false start, so they trusted me to get to the yard that we needed to, and basically did it.
Early on, you guys were running the ball almost at will in that opening drive. You had the pop pass to DK, but then it was just Jaylen here, you there, Jaylen there. What were you guys doing early well, and then what did you see later that you guys want to clean up to be more consistent with that?
For one, I want to say I'm happy that we got the win. Mm-hmm. And for two, I think we need to clean up a lot on just grind and pounding. We got our foot on their neck. We need to keep pressing more, pressing harder. That got us in the end zone, got us in the red zone real fast, and we went out and scored in the first drive. So I think running the ball is real good, and we just trying to create plays and do everything we can.
I think on your touchdown, you guys did like the fake jet sweep to John who one way, and I think you guys did it another time for a really good gain. What does that lateral challenge do for defenses when they know that you guys have so many different players that can go different ways?
I think it's sort of kind of a mismatch, but at the same time it's game plan. It's a game plan situation, and hey, if we can game plan it and get it done throughout the week, it'll be good.
Shout out to all the Steelers that continuously troll their teammates as they jump up behind us and say their name while we're recording them, because it is funny. Like, I legit have to hold my laughter half the time. But anyways, Alan, to his point, like, some of it is mismatches. Like, I do like the wrinkle of the Jonnu Smith jet sweep where he goes one way and it pulls a defender or two and it opens up space one way. But eventually, we're talking about this offensive line. They're going to have to be a unit that can win on their own merit and not just catching them with certain schemes that can displace people, because those are good to have in your offenses, but they can't be. This isn't like, hey, Arnold, 4th grade footballers beat the 5th graders because we're just calling the right trick plays at the right moment. Eventually, you have to win mano-a-mano in situations. That's just football.
Yeah. And I haven't really seen that. And I don't think they're far. Like, it's not like they're just like playing uncompetitively. It's that it's a 5-man unit. You have to have everybody blocking together. They have a lot of inexperience. I don't think Isaac Seumalo, the one guy with any experience, is playing as well as he's capable of. And so you just have a whole lot of plays where 4 guys are doing it and 1 guy's just not quite there. And that's unfortunately not good enough. Like, that's the nature of offensive line plays. You have to have 5 men working as a unit, and I just don't feel like they're there yet.
And I think that's part of what happens with a young group. They need to coalesce. They need to come together. This was something we said was going to take time this season, and something that they needed to try to offset with Aaron Rodgers and his ability to see the field and take advantage of what's there. We're going to get to our stars and skulls grades. That's next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders, stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, we'll remind you this show is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. They have big taste in a tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you really need it. Honestly, I love how fast it kicks in, that it's sugar-free, so I don't have to worry about crashing later. It's the fall, so if you're looking for great flavors to mix with the cooler weather, try out gingerbread snap or pumpkin spice. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. We're back here at the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter here with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Let's get to our stars and skulls grades this week. As always, we do our grades after the Steelers' performance. Stars are good, skulls are bad. 1 to 3 stars are good to great to elite on the day. 1 to 3 skulls are bad play without a redemption. 2 skulls, bad game as a whole. 3 skulls, all-time terrible. And, of course, there's the dreaded bus ticket grade for if you need to get the heck off the roster with how bad you are. No bus tickets this week, y'all. We're not, like I said, that's a very rare thing. But with wins, we always start with the with the good parts. Let's start with the stars. We go 1 star here. And we got quite a few 1 stars here, so I'm not going to make Alan try to guess, because there's quite a few guys who I think did, marginally well in the game. We start off with Aaron Rodgers. He did have 2 touchdown passes, including the game winner. Would have had more, I think, if he didn't throw that bad interception to Robert Spillane, but he was efficient where he could be. Other guys here: Zach Frazier, DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Broderick Jones, Mason McCormick, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, Dan Aquale, Derek Harmon, Patrick Queen, Cole Holcomb, Jabril Peppers, and Chris Boswell. I know I just said a whole lot of players, but the offensive linemen specifically, Alan, they weren't great, but they went up against the team that was leading the NFL in sacks, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't sacked once in this game, and they won just enough in some key spots in the run game to help in some key moments. That's why I gave those guys 1-star grades. Let's stick with the O-line, and we're going to move around here in a little bit, but what did you see out of the O-line, and specifically the guys that I mentioned?
I mean, I'm a little like the no sacks thing is, what was his time to throw though? Like, I mean, he was
very true.
He was really getting rid of the ball quickly, and you could tell when a lot of those throws were fairly uncompetitive. Like, he's just chucking it at times. 2.61 on the season, tied for 3rd shortest time to throw for Aaron Rodgers. I think like I said, there's a lot of good out there. It's just not quite good enough yet. And I think you've seen growth individually. Like, Broderick Jones had a tough week 1. So he's really bounced back. I thought he might have been their best lineman. I feel like they're showing growth, and maybe it's not what people want to see right now. I actually talked to Mason McCormick today, and he said, we get it. We get frustrated sometimes too, but you have to trust the process and stick through it and understand that development curves are not linear. There's going to be hiccups along the way and bumps in the road. And I think you should like the trajectory of the offensive line.
I gave 1-star grades to Metcalf and Austin. They both caught a touchdown in this game. It's tough, but it's tough to grade them much higher when they don't get many shots. Both Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell with theirs. Kenneth Gainwell gets his touchdown, but Jaylen forced 9 missed tackles. And I said this during the game where I was like, man, if that was Najee Harris averaging less than 3 yards per carry, people would be mad right now. But again, it's just, I think Jaylen Warren is doing a lot of the things that Najee Harris did. Granted, he's doing it differently because he's quicker and faster, but he's making guys miss, and he's converting situations even when the offensive line isn't doing him as many favors as they should. So they get points there. But I thought from running backs to receivers, the Steelers largely had a solid day.
Yeah, I might have given Jaylen Warren too. I thought he was the only reason they had any offense at all in this game. And like you said earlier, I felt like when it didn't work, it was mostly him getting hit in the backfield because of the play calling. Like when they gave him any kind of chance, he was doing good things.
And then throwing in the D-line here, I thought Dan Aquale actually acquitted himself very well. And the way I look at it, he needs to be in over Keanu Benton right now, because Keanu Benton, we'll get to his grade later. But I think if Harmon can be healthy and start, who I thought he also had a solid game. He had a sack and could have been better in some spots. But again, I'm not going to ding him too much in his first NFL action. But if Cam Heyward, who we'll get to his grade shortly, and Harmon and Aquale, your starters, and they can be consistently solid, that could solve up a lot of their problems they've had in the run game.
I thought Dan Aquale was really good. You don't have Harmon on this list? If you don't, I would.
I put him as a 1-star.
Okay, you do? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I thought both those guys were really good. I thought the presence of Harmon was immediately noticeable. When you saw, I thought the guys around him played better than they had. I think that's a huge credit to him. Aquale, every time I see somebody make a really nice play against the run, 96 is right there. I thought he was really good. And good shot with Cole Holcomb too. Came in pretty cold, hadn't played a lot. And I thought he was, especially against the run, a difference maker. The coverage wasn't probably what he was happy with, but I thought the run defense was really good.
Yeah, I would have graded him higher had he not lost on that 4th and 1 play where he was out in space. And
yeah, there was that one. He lost the tight end down there in the fourth quarter too. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Henry.
But yeah, and then Jabril Peppers I thought was solid. Boswell made his extra points. And then Slay with a second game with a breakup. Ramsey also just not targeted. He lined up everywhere. I checked the official snap count checker, and he was slot cornerback, both outside cornerback positions, and in the box in several different spots. For him to be all over the place and the Patriots just say, we're not targeting you anywhere, that means you're doing something right.
47 coverage snaps and 2 targets
and no
0 completions.
That's
about as good as you can do it.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, why were they picking on Slay? I was like, I don't think they were. I think they were afraid of Ramsey.
They'd rather go at the other guy, and that means
I don't think it was about picking on Slay. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were picking on James Pierre when he was in there. Sure, yes. That's fair. But I don't think they were picking on Slay so much as just trying to stay away from 5.
Let's go to our 2-star grades here. I threw in Corliss Waitman because I didn't, and at first I wouldn't have thought that, but he had 3 punts that pinned them inside the 20. And
the one was really nice.
There was a 55-yarder that was really well done in a defensive game when you're having to win because your defense is creating turnovers, giving them longer fields to protect helps it in there. So he gets his 2-star grade. Brandon Eccles, the interception in the red zone, which even though Cam Heyward tipped that pass, he looked like he was on it anyways. He was sitting on that pass there, and maybe it gets through if it's not tipped, but still huge red zone turnover. And then of course, big tackle right at the line to gain to end the game. He gets points there. Nick Herbig, a sack, a forced fumble, and also led the team with 6 pressures. I thought he was solid there, but I think you're going to contest with me here on Isaac Seumalo. I actually thought he was their best lineman. When I looked back, there were several plays where I felt that Seumalo was kind of keying up the offensive line. I thought the screen pass, he was one of the key blocks for Kenneth Gainwell that set up the game-winning touchdown a play later. But, like, he had the D-tackle. He spins his guy inside, and then he just rides him downfield. I felt like on a day where there was a lot of popcorn from the offensive line, he might have been the most consistent.
I think it was his best game this year, for sure. And the first two weren't up to his standards. I thought he was better in this game. And I think there's – I don't think he was bad. I'm not sure I think he was the best lineman, but, I certainly think he was good enough. I think we'll say that I'm grading Isaac Seumalo on a little bit more of a curve when it comes to it's a lot easier to deal with stuff that doesn't go right when you're talking about first and second year starters on the offensive line compared to a Pro Bowler who's 30 years old.
I agree with that entirely. This one should be fair. This might be your easiest guess of the season. I got 2 3-star grades here. Who are they?
Who else? Watt and Heyward.
Like, bang and bang. I mean, Alan, we don't need too much analysis of what they did so great, but this is the second straight game where Cam Heyward's tipped a pass that's been intercepted. I made this joke last week. I made it again this week. Man, he sure don't look washed right now. Because he's out there making plays, stuffing the run. Also got his own sack. And then TJ Watt, 2 sacks, and just they're still giving so much attention to him. He's helping against the run. He's also dropping back in coverage. Like, he's doing different things as well. I just think the 2 guys that are supposed to be the superstars of the front were the superstars of the front in this game.
Yeah, I thought TJ finally broke through a little bit. Tough stretch for him to start the season. I know he's dealing with a lot of double teams, but still just coming up short on a lot of plays in the first 2 weeks. And saw him get home, finally finish some plays. Think he actually ended up getting the forced fumble on the one that Peppers recovered. Yes. They eventually changed that to what?
I caught that after the game. I thought live that was Peppers, but
yeah, so did I.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really good game for him. And they're still running away from him. And I thought he made a pretty good point when I asked him about it today. He said, look, if we're making them one-dimensional, that's a good thing for everybody else. Just let Patrick Queen and Cole Holcomb and Peyton Wilson just turn and sprint to the other side of the field because they know it's not coming this way. I think that's an interesting way to look at that.
It certainly is. And my last point about the stars here, I look across the board here and I see Nick Herbig. I see Brandon Eccles. I see Dan Aquale. I see a lot of guys coming in here. Kenneth Gainwell, Cole Holcomb. That's Jabril Peppers. A lot of guys coming off the bench and being key contributors in this win. That's a good sign for the Steelers in their depth. And granted, there's guys that could be better on the depth chart too, but I thought that was another key point to this win was that they had guys filling in so many different spots and playing fairly decently well, and some even better than that.
Yeah, I thought especially, I don't think guys that. Well, there's a lot of guys on defense that are filling in. Chuck Clark, Jabril Peppers, Brandon Eccles, James Pierre, like Cole Holcomb coming in. I don't think they were all great, but none of them made the big bad play. And I think when you have a defense that talented and you have backups in there, like that's kind of all you need from them is just don't lose us the game, and then the rest of these guys will win it.
I'm right with you there. Speaking of losing the game, the guys that could have done that, we'll go over that next with our skull grades here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, what I remind you, the show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is here to make sure you're ready for all the action with this can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use all across the FanDuel app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building same-game parlays, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet and get your chance at $300 in bonus bets only on FanDuel. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Let's get to our skull grades here. Going to start with our one scullers here. Not too many skulls here. When I was reviewing the game, there was a lot of guys who ended up being neutral, I thought, but some guys that did end up in the skull department. 4 one scullers. We got Troy Fautanu, Pat Freiermuth, Juan Thornhill, and Chuck Clark. Fautanu, I felt like of the offensive line, some of his losses were more detrimental in some of those spots we're talking about. It was really costly. I thought there were some really good run plays that were set up by everyone else on a few plays, and Troy Fautanu's losses, I think, just stymied more of those. Pat Freiermuth, just really not much of a day for him, and then he had the third down play, or if he just sits down in space, Aaron Rodgers can hit him with a pass, and it keeps the Steelers' third drive of the day alive. And then really not much else notable for him. He had 1 catch on 3 targets for like 6 yards. And then Juan Thornhill and Chuck Clark, I'm not going to ding these guys too hard, but I felt like they were kind of picked out at times. I could have thrown James Pierre in this as well, but just they were in spots where that zone coverage that Drake May was able to find through. Sometimes I felt like they could have stuck been a little stickier in coverage deep downfield. But again, not terrible showings from them. Just you want a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Clark dropped the interception too.
That too.
Yes. That one kind of hurt. DJ was funny. He talked about it's like, yeah, they all run down to the end of the end zone to celebrate, and then you got to look up on the board and you go, oh crap! Now we got to go back and play defense again. It's like I never even considered that. How much of in addition to the letdown, now you're tired from running to go celebrate. Yeah, I mean that was a pretty easy one too, right in his hands.
Yeah.
Thornhill, I thought, was okay. Didn't play very much. And I don't think he made like a lot of positive plays necessarily, but so I'm buying it.
2 skull grade here. Only 1 2-sculler this week, and it's Keanu Benton, which I guess is kind of an upgrade because he's been a 3-sculler in both the last 2 games. The only reason he's not a 3-skull this time, though, Alan, is as much as I hate the stat pass rush win rate, I did feel like there were some plays, though he did not register any official pressures. I did feel like he did contribute sometimes to the pass rush with his ability to beat the guy off the snap, but still only 1 tackle, still a problem in the run game, needs to be better overall.
Yeah, I thought he was much better. Still with a lot left to be desired, but I thought he was much better. I thought playing next to Harmon seemed to help. Especially with the pass rush. I felt like those guys played off each other pretty nicely. They got into a couple games that I thought worked well. So we'll see how it goes. They need Keanu Benton to be a lot better than he's been. No question.
Agreed. 1 3-skull grade. Can you guess who it is?
1 3-skull grade. Peyton Wilson?
Correct. And Peyton Wilson, primarily because when I asked around the locker room, got the sense he was the guy that was supposed to have the guy on the second touchdown, letting him go. And then just overall getting benched for Cole Holcomb and still giving up a big play in that situation. Just not a good look for Peyton Wilson. Also didn't really contribute. The one thing he did contribute on, I thought about lowering him to his 2-skull grade, was he recovered the Cam Heyward fumble at the goal line. And that was a crucial play. He was on top of that one. I look at these 2 guys, Benton and Wilson, and I see so much potential for both of them. We know how athletic both of them can be off the ball. Keanu Benton can win at the line of scrimmage. We've seen him do it the last 2 years. Peyton Wilson, we've seen him in practice and last year in games too, where when he's just running and hitting, he can go make plays. But I think he's in his own head a little bit. And he talked a little bit in the locker room Monday too about, hey, like, needing to be tighter on things, need to be confirming on things, just like what he's doing here, what he's doing there. And I get if those 2 guys in particular can shore up their weaknesses on defense, those are the things that can turn a defense from being bad early to being okay, to being like opportunistic in this game, to being more consistently good, the way that I think a lot of people expect this defense to be.
Yeah, I was looking at the PFF coverage stats, and I mean, I hate the way they like just have to assign everything to somebody. I feel like it makes Peyton Wilson kind of look a little worse than he was in this game in coverage. I thought outside of the one bust, he was okay. And he played, it's funny. He was a guy that, like, during the game, my perception was he wasn't out there very much. And then you go and look at the snap count, and you're like, oh, yeah, was that actually that there 35
he did have
plays.
6 tackles.
Yeah. And so, like, I feel like this may be a little harsh. I don't think he had a great game, but I think you're finding that I like this performance from Peyton Wilson a lot better than last week.
Okay, I hear that. And listen, I think Peyton Wilson's going to end up being a good player and even a very good player for the Steelers. I think that maybe that's even where my three skulls coming from is that I see this guy being such a bigger contributor even in the very near future. I think that like you said with the offense, I think the Steelers are a lot closer on both sides of the ball to playing more complete football than people realize. I think that there's some of the mistakes are very fixable things, and they're things that from guys that you can expect to fix them. And I think that if they can do that, they can be a team that wins. Because again, this was an ugly win. You get 5 turnovers, you only win by 7. Sure, that's an ugly win. It's not a clean win. It's not one that you're saying put on the resume to rise up the power rankings. But it is a win in a situation where you're glad to have this on your resume instead of a loss like the Packers have to the Browns on Sunday. And at the end of the day, you look at the division records right now, and now you're ahead of the Ravens because they lost to the Lions this week. And granted, you got to face the Lions and the Bills at some point this season. So that's going to be a challenge, but I still think that that when you're doing these types of things early in the season and you're learning from this, if the Steelers can continue to learn and run and grow on both sides of the ball, you'll be looking back at these wins and saying like, hey, good thing they got those and they grew, because now you're not in a situation where you're barely making it into the playoffs or miss the playoffs while you are a growing team, kind of like the Bengals were late last year.
Well, I think we saw last year the Steelers they did not play their best football in December.
Yeah.
I think you'll trade some September for some December if you get there. Now,
if you get there.
That's the big if you get there. I do appreciate the thought process of it is a lot better to work on the things you need to work on after a win. But, I don't hear a lot of people say, like, it would also be a lot better to not have so much to work on. That would be, it would be nice to just be going into this Viking games like, you beat the Patriots 28-3, and it was kind of a laugher, and maybe we won't even review the tape because it was pretty clean, and just on to the next one. Got a tough travel schedule this week, maybe we'll just skip that. Like, that would be okay. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, they can't do that, Alan. Then everyone would be able to write their stories by the end of the third quarter. And
I know. I haven't even started a game story until like 5 minutes left this year.
Got to keep the fans stressed and the writers busy going up to the final whistle there. But hey, those were our stars and skulls grades here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Alan, thanks so much as always for tagging along and giving us your thoughts on the grades. Let people can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Hey, Saunders_PGH on social media. SteelersNow.com is where you can find my written work and my podcast, Steelers Morning Rush and Steelers Afternoon Drive, or on the Steelers Now YouTube page or anywhere you find podcasts.
Absolutely. He's Alan Saunders. Alan, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you all for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, where I have a new number 1 in my quarterback draft rankings. Check out who that is and why that is in my rankings there. I also have a film breakdown on the run talk that we had, and my stars and skull grades can be read all at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com for all of that work. As always, this is the Locked On Steelers podcast. You can also find it on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of the daily Monday through Friday episodes. Back here tomorrow with Nick Farabaugh, breaking down more elements of the Steelers here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.